Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. This is live stream 893. If this is your first time joining me, let me point out, super casual around here. We are certainly not engaging in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a first look, normally, at a tabletop game, which is what we're going to be doing tonight. That's right, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at Banish the Snakes from GMT Games. This looks very unique. In this game, the players take on the roles of saints in Ireland, trying to spread Christianity before the barbarians, the Vikings, take hold of England. So if you are familiar with the book, How the Irish Saved Civilization, this game plays into that. So we're going to be taking a look at that in just a bit. Speaking of just a bit, if you are not familiar with this show, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are stopping on in to watch live, so you can check out the unboxing of Banish the Snakes, let me point out it'll probably be about 35 minutes or so before we dive on into the unboxing. So if you're watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax. It's hump day. You're halfway to the weekend. Be good to yourself. Now, if you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, well, then there are timestamps, so you can jump ahead of the tabletop gaming news if you'd like. Although we've got some cool news tonight, you may want to take a peek. But if you're impatient and you just gotta get to that unboxing, you'll be able to click on the timestamps, which are in the show notes, or depending on the device you happen to be using to watch this, might be right there in the timeline, right in front of your eyes. I don't know. I don't know what you're watching this on. Could be an old Motorola TV. I doubt that very highly, but it is a possibility, right? Anyway, when you're out watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the Gaming Gang channel. Come on, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, it's a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. So one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, and you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight, one of our chat moderators peeking around. Usually Sarah D is lurking, but Sarah D is right up front saying howdy to everybody tonight. Chuck Terrell's with us. Deja Vu is with us once again, as is Kathy Evans, Stray Kismet, Shaz, as well as Roger Prudhomme. So we've got chat off and running. So Sarah D says Thursday is her day off, so she's already at her weekend. Actually, me too, because, I mean, really, I only do the shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I guess, I'm kind of into my weekend as well, although the rest of the week I'm always shooting videos and doing things on the website anyway, so every day I'm doing something. Just not prepping for a live show. So there is that. All right, let's jump on into the news because I've got a cool mix tonight. First off, arriving later this month from FryxGames and Stronghold Games is Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition Crisis. And I've got the dope. In Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition Crisis, players will play as corporations, just as in the original Ares Expedition. You choose phases and play project cards as normal. The difference is players are working together to keep Mars habitable after a natural disaster has landed the planet in crisis. Every round, a new crisis card will be drawn that will require the players to achieve a certain goal to remove that crisis from play. Each turn that a crisis card is not completely dealt with, it will lower one or more of the terraforming metrics that keeps Mars habitable. Handle all the crises as they arise. Eventually, a crisis card will be drawn that allows the players to win the game once they have completed re-terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition Crisis is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. It'll play in around 60 minutes, so really not changing the playtime at all. And it will carry an MSRP of $24.99 when it arrives on March 22nd. Sweet. I'll be the first to admit that Ares Expedition has taken the place of Terraforming Mars as far as my gaming gang. So we like it quite a lot. Okay, well, let me rephrase. My best friend Elliot Miller, his son Brian, and I really like it a lot. My brother will tolerate it, and my nephew Cameron's sort of like, nah. So 3 of the 5 of us who play it quite often really do enjoy it. I honestly think my nephew Cameron's not a huge fan because it just doesn't all click with him. Although I have to admit, I am not really good at this game. So I very rarely win. Kevin R. Smith, as well as Quantum Phase Dragon, are hanging with us in chat. Welcome to you both. On to the next news piece. This June is going to bring In the Footsteps of Darwin from Sorry, We Are French and Hachette Board Games. Here's what I know. 20 years after his expedition around the world, Charles Darwin is writing on the origins of species. He wants to gather new information about animal life, particularly about continents he hardly explored. Who, other than young naturalists eager for discovery, could help the renowned scholar finish writing his most famous work? In the footsteps of Darwin, players are junior naturalists who have just arrived aboard the Beagle to help Charles Darwin finish his book on the origin of species. During this journey, you will study animals, carry out cartographic surveys, publish your findings, and develop theories. Starting with the naturalist controlling the Darwin token, naturalists take turns in clockwise order, performing these 2 steps in order. Study an animal or take inspiration from a character. Choose one of the 3 tiles facing the Beagle and place it into your naturalist notebook. It may be either an animal to study or a character from the Beagle's previous journey who will inspire you. Gain the bonuses depicted or any additional scoring bonuses triggered by the tile's placement. Voyage of the Beagle. After playing a tile on your notebook, move the beagle as many spaces forward as the distance between the beagle and the tile you just selected, 1 to 3 spaces. Then draw a new tile to replace the empty space on the journey board. The goal is to score more points than your opponents to determine who contributed the most to On the Origin of Species. I can take a guess. Charles Darwin. There you go. Why? Nobody needs to play it now. I've already told you who wins. Who has contributed the most? In the footsteps of Darwin is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up. That sounds awfully low. I don't know. It's supposed to play in around 30 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $39.99. I've got to say, I really like the artwork to this. Very, very nicely done. And I think this sounds pretty interesting. I also think it's a bit odd that on one hand, I'm sharing a news piece about Charles Darwin, and then we're taking a look at a board game which is about spreading the Catholic faith. Or I guess we'll say Christianity, because at that point in time, there was no Protestant movement or anything like that. It was only the church. So kind of different ends of the equation there, I guess we'll say. Moving right along, currently up on Kickstarter for Randall Hampton Art is Little Game Masters. Here's the skinny on the project. In the world of tabletop role-playing games, there is a wealth of adventure to be had across different systems and rule sets. Unfortunately, there are not many options for the youngest adventurers among us. Little Game Masters is here to fill that need with a rule set built for kids 5 to 9 years of age, or people of my emotional level. Tabletop role-playing games are excellent tools for cultivating children's soft skills like communication, listening, and problem solving, as well as building a foundation in simple mathematics and literacy. Playing these games with our children is an opportunity to help them grow in ways that will be beneficial for years to come. With this in mind, Little Game Masters has been built to be easy to teach, easy to learn, and probably most importantly, enormously fun to play. Many aspects of Little Game Masters will be familiar to veteran players. First and foremost, imagination is everything. It is our goal to encourage young players to try anything and to never be afraid of failure. Like many other tabletop role-playing games, Little Game Masters employs a game master. Big or little, I would guess. This person is in charge of running the game and helping the players tell a fun and engaging story. Whether the GM uses one of the provided adventure modules or creates a world of their own, they will be holding the reins and ensuring the story reaches its end. Players are the storytellers on these adventures. They will take control of one of the pre-generated characters that comes with Little Game Masters and use their various skills and abilities to adventure through the world of Endoran, or through a world of your own making. There is a Kickstarter video. It is about 4 minutes. So it's going to tell you a lot more about Little Game Masters. So let's kick back and give it a watch. If I have the right video, now I'm thinking, wait a second, did I put the right video in here?
The Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1979.
Hi, I'm Randall Hampton. I'm the author and illustrator of the Little Game Masters series of children's books, the creator of Little Game Masters, a tabletop role-playing game built for kids age 5 and up. I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for over 30 years. For over 20 years, I've been building my own worlds and running games myself. And for over 5 years now, I've been writing and creating stories for kids, teaching them what tabletop role-playing games are all about. Little Game Masters is a tabletop role-playing game built for kids to introduce them what tabletop role-playing games are all about get them rolling dice and using their most valuable resource that they have, their imagination. So how do we slim down TTRPGs so kids can understand, play, and have fun? First off, most games have character sheets. Little Game Master doesn't use a character sheet. Instead, we're going to be using character cards. Little Game Masters comes with 8 pre-generated character cards for your children to pick from. That means no more spending hours upon hours spending time creating characters. They can pick one of these 8 characters and jump right into playing. In most tabletop role-playing games, the options for combat can become overwhelming, especially for kids. In Little Game Masters, the character cards come with 4 actions for each character to do. Now, for those older kids that can read through the descriptions of the combat actions, great. We have them written on the front of the card for them. For our younger adventurers, on the reverse side of the card, we have illustrated versions of the combat actions. This lets younger kids pick out what action they want to do while adventuring. In Little Game Masters, we only have 3 attributes that your kids need to worry about: muscle, wits, and pizzazz. With those 3 attributes, you can cover just about any skill check or ability check that you may need to make throughout the game. Any type of physical activity, any type of check that would involve strength or dexterity or constitution, that falls under muscle. Any type of check that would involve intelligence or wisdom, that falls under wits. And for anything that would be a performance-based or an influence-based check, that would fall under pizzazz. Also, we're writing adventures for you to play through with your kids. And these adventures are meant to be played in about an hour. Anything more than that, and some of our younger adventurers might lose their way. So what do you get when you back this project? To start, you can back at a tier that gives you a PDF copy of the rulebook, or you can back at a tier that gives you a physical copy of the rulebook. More tiers will open up, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. What's included in the rulebook? You get the Little Game Masters rule set, all the rules that you need to tell you how the game works. In the back of the book, you'll have pages containing all 8 character cards for use during play. You get mini monster guide filled with creatures and baddies to challenge your little adventurers. And finally, you'll have a few adventures to start your journey with your kids. Now, what would a Kickstarter be without stretch goals? We want to make the game the best that it can be. So the more support we get, the more we can offer you. More pre-generated characters, more monsters to play against, more adventures, more physical rewards. Some stretch goals include bringing on guest authors from the TTRPG community to create some of the adventures for your kids to play through. Be sure to check through the stretch goal list to see some of the amazing creators that have signed on to be a part of this project. When we hit certain levels of support, new backer tiers will open up. New tiers will include a separate physical adventure book with a complete campaign for you to play through with your kids. Another new tier will be for a collector's edition that includes physical copies of the character cards, the rule book, the adventure book, a GM screen, and a book sleeve to keep everything contained. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much love and creativity being poured into this project from so many people. We cannot wait to bring it to life, but we can't do that without your support. Back the campaign, share the link on socials. As new stretch goals are met and new tiers are unlocked, more and more opportunities to play with your kids will be brought to life. So stay tuned to the updates, find out what new options are opening up. Thanks so much for all of your support. I'll see you at the table.
Little Game Masters is rapidly approaching its funding goal, and you can reserve a copy of the game in PDF for a $15 pledge, or score the physical book for a $25 pledge through March 30th. Expected delivery for the PDF is this July, with the physical book to follow in October. And yes, of course, why would I have the correct video set up? Why? I swear it's always the evenings where I'm like, oh yeah, I've got everything done. I'm all set. Yep. Ooh, I got time to spare. Never fails. Those are the nights where it's like, ah, damn. I didn't swap out the video. Crap. And then it's other nights where it's like, oh man, I know I'm forgetting something. I have forgotten something. And it's like, nah, everything's all loaded up, good to go. Randall Hampton, or someone posing as Randall Hampton, is in chat with us. Also pointing out Russians are not included in this game. No, but they're probably in the expansion that's on the horizon. There's the Russian supplement is going to be the Russian and Afghan supplement is on the horizon. Maybe it could even be a stretch goal. So Quantum Phase Dragon said that this looks amazing. So let's be very honest and upfront here. This doesn't have to be just for kids. This could easily be for newcomers to the hobby, adults who just don't want to sit there and sift through a 700-page core rule book. All of those sorts. And of course for children 5 to 9. I think when I took a peek earlier today, I think this was at about the 85% funded mark. I'm sure Randall can fill everybody in. And of course, if you're hanging out in chat and you have a question about Little Game Masters, by all means, fire away. I'm sure Randall can probably answer those questions for you. I would hope. It's his game. Moving right along, there is a new bundle of holding which has arrived, and it features the Advanced Fighting Fantasy role-playing game from Arian Games and designers Steve Jackson, not that Steve Jackson, and Ian Livingstone. Here's the deets on the deal. Adventurer! We've resurrected our March 2017 Advanced Fighting Fantasy bundle, featuring the Arian Games tabletop role-playing game based on the phenomenally popular fighting fantasy game books by Steve Jackson, the British one, and Ian Livingstone. Originally published in 1989 and presented here as a PDF in its handsome 2011 second edition, Advanced Fighting Fantasy is a complete role-playing game set in the classic fighting fantasy world, with a fast and adaptable system ideal for beginners and well-suited to long-term campaigns. For just $7.95, you'll get all 4 titles in this revived offers starter collection, which has a retail value of $40, as DRM-free PDFs, including the Advanced Fighting Fantasy 2nd Edition Core Rulebook, the Hero's Companion Rules Expansion, the Sorcery Spellbook, the Grimoire from Steve Jackson's 4-book Sorcery Gamebook series, and the Monster Book Out of the Pit. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $18.97, you'll level up and also get this offer's entire bonus collection, with 6 more supplements and adventures worth an additional $59, including the full-length campaign Crown of Kings, the Beyond the Pit monster book, the Titan setting guide, plus the Titan map, the Black Sand City book and the Black Sand map, and the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, a full-length role-playing game scenario based on the first and most famous fighting fantasy game book. These savings will run through March 20th, and 10% of your purchase after gateway fees for this offer does go to the Yorkshire, UK Air Ambulance. Well, nice. That is a new charity. It's not the usual direct relief, which is fine. At least it's a bundle of holding that is giving something to charity. We have seen some recently that were not providing any charitable donation. But nice to see something new in the mix. So I will mention that there are 2 Advanced Fighting Fantasy bundles going on right now. This is the core. So if you do not have any of the Advanced Fighting Fantasy books, this would be the one to pick up. The other bundle has some additional supplements as well as adventures too. I'll be the first to point out, I know very, very little about Advanced Fighting Fantasy. I know more about the Fighting Fantasy books. Specifically, I know more about sorcery than the actual tabletop role-playing game. But I've always heard really cool things about Advanced Fighting Fantasy. Although I don't think, and somebody out there can probably correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone did the design work for this. I thought they've done the design work for Fighting Fantasy. Those were their books. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Simeon has joined us in chat. Good to see you. Welcome aboard. We've got a good chat going tonight. All right, on to my final news piece. That's right, Chaosium Inc. has revealed a new 10-volume series. You heard me correctly, 10 volumes of supplements for the RuneQuest role-playing game. And here's their announcement about Cults of RuneQuest. Cults of RuneQuest introduces new character creation options and a fresh look at the lore of Glorantha. In RuneQuest, every player character's spell, skills, and other bonuses are determined by the cult or cults they choose to join. The Cults of RuneQuest series allows players a wealth of new character options by presenting full pantheons of gods beyond those found in the RuneQuest core book. Of course, you don't need to buy all 10 books in order to play. Each volume of Cults of RuneQuest stands alone and covers a different pantheon, so you can purchase just the book for your favorite collection of gods or multiple books to expand your options and understanding of the lore and mythology of Glorantha. The first pantheon books are the Lightbringers and the Earth Goddesses. The Cults of RuneQuest series will also contain 2 other books. The Prospedia, a companion, which is an encyclopedia and art book for the entire Cults of RuneQuest series, and Mythology, which is an indispensable game master resource which dives deep into what myth and myth-making means in Glorantha and how the magic of the world brings these myths to life. The Prospedia will be out in July, with Mythology coming later this year. And of course, you'll want to keep your eyes peeled for the cover reveals. We're sharing the first 3 right now. Cults of RuneQuest is going to continue into 2024 with the hotly anticipated Cults of the Lunar Way, which will finally reveal the gods of the chaos-tolerating Lunar Empire of the North. The Lunar Way is set to release in 2024, followed by 5 more volumes in the Cults of RuneQuest series. So, just a recap, I do believe the Lightbringers and the Earth Goddesses are slated for Gen Con releases. So fingers crossed on that. And I do think the Prospedia is also going to be available at Gen Con 2. So we'll have 2 of the new volumes available there. Of course, stay tuned. I'll be bringing you more news about Cults of RuneQuest as they develop. And I have absolutely no more information about this. None whatsoever. This is everything that's out there as of right now. I don't even have pricing on the books. I will take a stab. Probably $50 is what I'm guessing. Probably $49.99. Clock in maybe 200 pages or so. I don't know. I'm not sure. Simeon says, that's a lot of books. It is. It is a lot. And I got to be very honest. I'm happy to see a lot more support for RuneQuest. Now, do you need to have all 10 of these books? Absolutely not. Of course not. If you're a completist, yes, you probably will. Actually, I shouldn't even say 10 books. It'd be 12. Be a dozen books in total. So hopefully I get an opportunity to check these out when they arrive. Flaming Heron is with us, as is Liquid Nebula. Digital janitors also in the house, I noticed. So welcome aboard. So Flaming Heron says, sorry if you mentioned it, but did you see the Kobold Press 17th anniversary event? I did, but I got to point out that news did not arrive until the late afternoon, and I already had all my news all done. So that'll be something that'll kind of carry over into next week. I'll probably put a news item up on thegaminggang.com, but that's something I'll probably add to the news for next week. So as Flaming Heron has mentioned, Kobold Press is celebrating their 17th birthday with 17 days of deals. So each day, I believe, I'm not positive, I didn't read the entire article that was sent, or I should say press release that was sent my way, because I was wrapping up, and got to be honest, I've been helping my dad change his brakes today. So full disclosure, everybody. See, that's what I can blame, having the wrong video up there for. Yeah, I was too busy doing that. No, I thought I had swapped it out. Actually, the real story was, if you remember, if you watched last night, we had 2 Kickstarter videos. So I did plug in the Little Game Masters video into one of the video slots, because I move things around all the time depending on what we're, talking about and if I'm sharing videos. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I've got 2 videos. I need to get the other video out of there. And of course, rather than get rid of the Kickstarter that we talked about from Flying Pig Games yesterday, I took the Little Game Masters video out. Don't. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? I'm human. So yes, Flaming Heron says every day apparently for the next 17 days. I know they've got a bundle available too, which is sort of their History of Kobold Press bundle. And I think it's like 6 PDFs. And it's just different stuff. So I think Deep Magic is one of the books, which is relatively, 2 years old, maybe? I don't think Deep Magic is that old. Year, 2 years, possibly. But then it looked like there was some stuff that's probably like from the first year Kobold Press was around. So I say it all the time, I really enjoy the vast majority of releases that come out from Kobold Press. So Kevin says they think it's 1 discounted PDF or bundle and 1 free one every day. Nice. Very cool. I'll take a peek. I'm sure I'll be including it with the wave of news from tonight's show. So if you happen to follow thegaminggang.com, which I would hope you do, because there's a lot of content on the website you never see here, especially the reviews from the team. We've got our other correspondents reviewing role-playing games especially. So I will roll out the news. That news piece will be out like 3:30 in the morning, my time. So that's how I usually do things, where that way the next day, the news I talked about on tonight's show is up and available with links over on thegaminggang.com. All righty then. So I didn't mention Drive-Thru RPG tonight, but don't forget, for you role-playing game fans out there, that the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, or maybe even Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. I do believe that Drive-Thru RPG has kicked off their GM's Day sale. because GM's Day is, I think it's March 4th. I don't know. I never get anything for it. And I'm the forever GM. But I think they've kicked it off because I saw a banner ad for it. So I think that has begun. So by all means, take a peek. Flaming Heron says, get Kobold Press stuff on Humble, Drive-Thru RPG, and their website. So Flaming Heron says, really need to group them up on a USB eventually. I have a ton. I mean, no joke. I have a ton of role-playing game PDFs that I keep on a terabyte drive. It's a flash drive. So I've got loads and loads of stuff. Of course, obviously, I've got like all the issues of Dragon, all the issues of Dungeon and things like that because they were available as discs. So all that's on there. So yeah, pretty cool. Of course, everything that I get on Drive-Thru RPG, that goes on there. The review copies I get for stuff go on there. So it's just, I think it is 2/3 filled. So you're looking at about 650 gigs. So, and when you're looking at PDFs of RPGs, that's a lot. So Kevin says they've got a bunch of PDFs on Dropbox. That's actually what I use for my reviewers. I have a Dropbox account that I have a folder for them to pop in and get their hands on. All right. Anyway, so I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. And then, of course, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And a big thank you to everybody out there who either and or uses the Drive-Thru RPG banners and or visits paypal.me/thegaminggang. It is much appreciated because, of course, if you're fairly new to the gang, I don't do Kickstarters. I don't do Patreon. So those are two main ways that the gaming gang hangs around. So there is that. I don't really have any sort of house cleaning tonight. I don't have any random thoughts or anything along those lines. Haven't been doing anything too exciting. So I do have a lot that you will see over the weekend and then probably into next week as well. I am going to devote most of my Saturday to shooting video down here in the Duct Tape Studios. So stay tuned for a lot of that. So a lot of goodies on the horizon. 245 Trioxin is hanging with the gang tonight. Good to see you, 245. All right. So I am going to unbox and take a first look at Banish the Snakes in just a few minutes. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Tough run?
Rugged.
Hey, why don't you meet us down at Mike's?
Now you're talking.
Let's get together with a glass of Schlitz, a friendly glass of Schlitz, real gusto in a great light beer. great light beer. Schlitz.
The beer that made Milwaukee famous simply because it tastes so good.
Wilkins Coffee and Pie, 25 cents. I didn't drink the Wilkins. That's $1 even. It pays to drink Wilkins.
Here is a doll. So new, so different, so fantastic that you have to see her to believe it. Turn on the light. Baby Boo starts crying. Lights out.
She stops.
On.
Off. It's like magic.
Baby Boo stops crying when you cover her. When you hug her.
Like a real baby.
Baby Boo.
Your girls will love the doll from hell. From Topper. What the? Could you imagine having to listen to that? I'm going to get in that room and I'm going to break that doll. If you don't shut that thing up. Light goes on. Lay it down. And Wontkins lives. Yes. Yes, he has to pay 4 times the price for his piece of pie because he didn't drink that Wilkins coffee. But I guess his life was worth that 75 cents. All righty then. So tonight I am going to unbox and take a first look at Banish the Snakes from GMT Games. It's designed by Kevin McPartland and Jerry Shiles with graphics provided by Terry Leeds. This game is for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 minutes to 2 hours, and carries an MSRP of $59. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Banish the Snakes. Do want to mention before we dive on in that the fine folks over at GMT Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it's important that you know that. All right, I'm going to get the shrink wrap off of this. So this is a pretty deep box, and it's got some heft to it. So I can tell right off the bat, just from the weight, this has got to have a mounted board. It's just absolutely has to. So James Eck is with us in chat, and he says that that doll didn't have any batteries. It's possessed. Yes, it's the doll from hell. Banish the Snakes is a cooperative or solitaire game that simulates Ireland in the 5th century, while the Roman Empire was collapsing in the West and Ireland was turning to the Christian religion. Players represent saints, Patrick, and others, up to 6 of you, who set out to transform the island. You must work as a team to convert the people of Ireland before the barbarians completely overwhelm Britain. If you fail, the Irish will not be able to save civilization in the following centuries. Which, I want to say, if I remember right, I think the author's name is Thomas Cahill. And they had published, my gosh, the book has got to be 25 years old or more. Because I remember I bought it for my dad for Christmas one year, How the Irish Saved Civilization. So, of course, if you're familiar with the Dark Ages, which, you know, most historians don't refer to that as the Dark Ages anymore because it's kind of like the Dark Ages. People think, oh, there was no progress or anything like that. Where that's not true. There was a lot. It's just that a lot of written documents don't exist from that period. And one of the reasons is because they were destroyed by like raiders. So we got a rule book. Oh, nice. We got a playbook. I love me my GMT playbooks. So first off, let's take a look at the rule book. And looks like we've got about a dozen pages of rules. So should be pretty easy to get into. Yeah, the funny thing is, my dad's not a gamer by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's not even really clear on what I do. So, but the funny thing is, this topic would be very interesting for him. All right, so the introduction. If I have any worth, it is to live my life for God, so as to teach these peoples. So said St. Patrick. Legend has it that St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. It's true that there are no snakes anywhere on the island, but there have been none since the last ice age. So the legend seems to be an allegory about his successes in converting Ireland to Christianity. Banish the Snakes is a cooperative game that simulates Ireland in the 5th century, during the collapse of the Roman Empire in the West, as Ireland turned toward the Christian religion. Kind of straight from the info on the back. Actually, it is word for word now that I'm looking at it. All right, so we've got blocks. We're going to have stickers. We're going to have different churches. So we have Christians and pagans. We have druids, leaders, relics, and graves. We've got the High King of Ireland. Just about 92 says, get ready to sticker them wooden blocks. I don't mind stickering the blocks so much. I'll tell you, though, there have been some games where I was like, oh, my God. The Command and Colors line, when I would get, like, review copies of that, I'd be like, oh, no. So I don't think this is going to have that many blocks. It doesn't appear. I mean, don't get me wrong. It looks like it's got a good number of blocks, but not like a Commands and Colors. All right, so we've got our game board. I don't think our game board is going to be huge. We've got our setup. And it looks like we've got kind of an odd, maybe it's like a Gaelic font for the various different headings. So if our players turn here, so we're going to revolve an event card. Now, one of the things that I think takes place in this game is with the events, the different events have like different levels, and depending on the card that was the previous event will determine how I don't know how dire that event is that you're playing. And I thought that was pretty cool, and it also adds a lot of additional replayability to the game as well, because the event cards are not going to be the same each and every game. So, and then the degree of the event is going to be different. So we've got resolving the event card. We have play actions, and we'll have player aid cards that'll list the actions we can take. We have a pass the turn marker. So there's a breakdown of our event cards. So we have a color bar and a color arrow. So see, this is what I was talking about. We'll see it on the cards too. We'll take a peek at them. That this is where I think it determines what is going to be the severity of the next event is with these arrows here. Or maybe, yeah, I think that's how it would work. I don't think it's going to be, oh, well, the card after or before this, because that wouldn't make sense. All right, so we get showing us our draw deck and our discard. Talking about the event cards. Looks like we should have some cool artwork and graphics here. So we have paganism in Great Britain, removing and replacing people. It says pagan people will be converted to Christian flock during the course of the game. When an event calls for you to replace a people marker in an area, remove flock first. Remove the flock furthest to the right. There is more than one. If there are no flock to remove, then remove pagan people. Always remove the lowest number furthest to the left, pagan people in the area. Replace or remove people with randomly drawn pagan people and place them in numerical order in the area. This is when a card calls for people and leaders to be removed and replaced. Always replace the people first. Okay. So we've got our different actions. So we have prepare and convert actions, move actions, building and improving churches, give or take cards. So it looks like you can spend an action to take a card from another saint or give a card to another saint if you're in the same area. So Simeon says, good game for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, if you're going to stay sober for it. Just About 92 says they own all the commands and colors stuff and have stickered thousands of blocks. All right, so death. When your Saint's Zeal reaches the last box on the Zeal track, marked with a Celtic cross and no number, your saint has died. They are martyrs to the cause. Remove the saint card from the game. Place a randomly selected grave marker in the area where your saint's pawn is located. If your saint died while you were taking actions, your turn is now over. So is their saint's life. It says, if your saint died because of an event that removed multiple zeal points, any zeal lost in addition to what causes their death is ignored. I'm just kind of curious. Okay, so I was going to say, I don't think there's going to be player elimination here. It says you have a keeper card saint. So that looks like that might override your saint's death. But it says if you do not have a keeper card saint when your active saint dies, flip your player mat over. Your pawn now represents an acolyte of your original saint. Place your zeal marker on the square all the way on the left and your action point marker on the 4 square. It says acolytes have no special abilities in a shorter zeal track. Then game ends. Game can end in 4 ways. The instant that every people marker in Ireland is on its Christian flock side. When this occurs, the game ends immediately. You and your team have achieved a full victory. Hooray! It says there may still be some pagan leaders or even druids remaining in Ireland, but if the people markers have all been changed. The instant that the paganism in Great Britain marker reaches the game ends box. When the draw deck runs out of cards, stop the game when there's no event card for a player to draw to begin their turn. And the instant that any acolyte zeal track reaches the box marked with a Celtic cross. Interesting. So you will only go through, well, yeah, I guess that would be the case. With each of your players, you're only ever going to go through one acolyte because the first acolyte to, I guess, effectively die is going to trigger the end of the game. And then you're going to total up points. This looks very, very interesting. I got to say, I've mentioned this a few times over the past few months that I'm really happy to see all these different topics getting tackled by not only GMT, but other game companies as well, especially game companies out there that tackle, historic games. It's lots of really cool stuff. Now, just on Monday's show, we were taking a look at Votes for Women. That looks fantastic too. So this is looking very, very interesting. All right, so then we get a playbook. And I say it all the time when we've got a GMT game release that's got a playbook. Normally, I will read the playbook first before I dive on into the rule book, because I find that reading the playbook makes the rule book far easier to understand. Right, so I'm going to take a guess. We're probably going to have mostly game designer notes in here. So looks like we've got some historical info. So it appears, are we going to get, we might get info about each of the, I guess, weren't they considered apostles? Were they apostles of Ireland? So we do have some patron saints. Neil of the Nine Hostages. Arthur, King of the Britons. Yes, it's that King Arthur. Well, it's unexpected to find King Arthur in a game about St. Patrick in Ireland. Here he is. Most historians believe that the legends of such a king came from the late 5th or early 6th centuries, firmly within the time frame of the game. Legend of King Arthur is well known to everyone, from the casual historian to fans of old Broadway musicals. Yes, Camelot. Oral traditions about him survived for hundreds of years before being written down in the 12th century. Born at Tintagel, the son of Uther Pendragon, he proved his worthiness to rule by drawing the sword Excalibur from the stone. Yeah, okay. We know all that stuff. So it says, historians have long debated if King Arthur actually ever existed. I thought it's kind of accepted that there was a king that the kind of some of the Arthurian legends are based on. Of course, you know, without magic and things like that. But I thought it's fairly accepted that there was, although his name probably was not Arthur. So we've got the Pope. Oh, okay. So I was going to say, it looks like we've got a lot of just historical information. And then we've got an example of play for a 2-player game. So it's going to give us, looks like probably going to give us a couple of turns maybe. So we've got the setup, the first turn. So each of the players' first turn, and then each of the players' second turns, and then we have turn 3. I always talk about the examples of play being really well done. When I first learned how to play Twilight Struggle, that is how I learned. The example of play is pretty extended for that, but that is really how I learned how to play Twilight Struggle, and then, of course, referred to the rule book. All right, so here we've got, these look like our player mats, I think is what they were referring to these as. So we've got our active saint. So we don't have a mat, like each mat is not a particular saint. It can be any saint. It's just they are color coded, and there are 6 of them. And then if we flip it over, this is where we get our acolyte. So there we have this. And then we've got keeper cards, which I think keeper cards, from what I was looking at in the rule book, I think the keeper cards are cards that are in effect. So William Hellhisice is with us. So asking, is this a Pope game? No, it's actually Banish the Snakes, which is from GMT Games. And it's about converting the Irish peoples to Christianity. And it looks very, very interesting. All right, so here we've got our stickers for our blocks. And you saw Disavowed 92 volunteered to sticker my blocks for Banish the Snakes. You saw it right in chat. I know I saw it. So this is the first sheet here. And the next sheet here. And I believe the red are pagans and the green are converted. So we've got those. Next up, we have our game board. This board might be bigger than I thought. No, it is bigger than I thought. Well, what do you know? I was thinking it was only going to be 4 panels, but it's not. It's actually 6 panels. So it looks like the map is broken into counties. Nice. Okay, so this is going to, we put our people here in these boxes. And then here we've got our discard pile, our draw deck, current card, and key card. So I'll leave this out for a second for when we take a look at the event cards. I'll show you how I think these actually will lay out. Because remember, we were talking about how the events are based on that. So this about to says, send it, I'll do it. Oh, you know, I was just teasing. So here we've got Scotland. So we've got our Scots here. We've got England over here. So this is kind of our I don't want to necessarily say our turn marker, but it's at the start, and we're going to go through these different ways, and then we get to the game ends. Because at this point, if we have not like had a trigger to end the game, I think this represents when effectively Britain is overrun by Vikings and barbarians and everything else. So if we don't have, I think, if we don't have enough Christians in Ireland when that happens, the Irish monks are not going to be able to hide away all that knowledge from the Vikings and that. So I think that's how it plays out. I think. So yeah, this board looks really cool. I like this board. All right, show you all the other stuff that we've got in here. So we've got this big old it looks like a chess piece here, and then we've got pawns. I'm going to take a guess that these are probably supposed to be our saints and maybe acolytes as well. Looks like we've got some church. Some large church tokens, because I know we have different levels of churches. So William asks if I am of Irish descent. I am actually first generation. My father was born and raised he was born in Scotland, but he is Irish. So has a brogue and everything. All my aunts and uncles all had brogues. So William says, hey, it's the bishop. Somebody's missing a chess piece. So these are the blocks, some of the blocks that we're going to end up stickering, as well as looks like some of these are for the churches. We've got a bunch of discs. More blocks. More churches. And that's right. because you asked for it. More blocks. And then we've got a couple of decks of cards and a green die. Oh, look at that. And it's got a clover on it. That's pretty wild. Not 4-leaf, though. Okay, so this is our event deck. And we've got our Saint deck. I think we have two. All right. So let me get these open, and we're going to take a closer look. And let's see what kind of... Oh, actually, pretty damn nice cardstock here. So we've got some player aid cards. We should have... I thought we had player aids that show us the actions as well. So this is how influence works in the game. And then it looks like we have some like relics in that, holy items. St. Patrick's breastplate. Okay, and then we've got, these are the saints. There's Patrick. Huh. So we actually have quite a few different saints here. And then we've got our event cards. So I sort of have the impression that the players might change saints as they play. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so... But in the end, probably not, because it looks like these are the saints. Even though they say event cards. Oh, maybe this is when these saints become available? I don't know. Anyway, what I wanted to show you... Here we have more saints. And they say they're event cards. All right. This is what I think we do with these events. So the key card is what tells us what is the current event, right? So we see there's this blue arrow. So it's pointing out what we're going to have here. So this would be eager followers. Like the red says, not so eager after all. No event. But down in the blue, so we see both the green and the blue are the same. It says, search for a saint as above. So basically you're searching the deck for any saint and keep the card, then shuffle the deck. It says, search for a saint as above, or search the discard pile for any card that can be saved, or draw a random gift of the spirit card and keep that card. So what you would do is you'd place that there. So that's showing that. So then that goes up there. And then we would get like so. And then this would be a slave raid. And then we would be looking at, okay, what's the blue here? It says remove one people from South Urnell and replace with new pagan people. Any saints lose one zeal if a flock is removed from their area. So that is how I believe these events work. So they kind of rotate out. So we got our draw deck goes there. There we go. Oh, no, well, I didn't shuffle it up, obviously. So it's very cool. Looks very, very interesting. So I'll get the board out of the way. So it'll make it easier for the autofocus to pick up on the cards. We'll take a look at some of the cards here. Some of the events. So we already saw a slave raid. We have Arthur, King of the Britons. We were talking about Arthur just a few moments ago. So there is Arthur. Human sacrifice. Yowza. Yeah, some of those pagans sacrificing each other there. So William says, solitaire games rock. Hard to get a campaign at times. People's attention spans are out the window these days. This is solitaire as well as cooperative. Up to 6 players. So I definitely do like that. Saxons attack. It says advanced paganism in Great Britain by 2 squares. Dry spell. So those are some of those. We also have some of our saints. So Bridget Finnegan. Not even going to try to pronounce that. Monine. I don't know. Palladius. Siren. I think that's how that's pronounced. I'm pretty sure that's how that's pronounced. Because the actor, he was in The Terror. He's actually in a lot of stuff that I like. I want to say his name is Siren Hand. For some reason, I think he was in Game of Thrones. Then again, maybe I'm just cracking up. So then we also have these saint cards over here. Oh, here's the Gift of the Spirit. Okay, so here are the saint cards. So it looks like I'm taking a stab in the dark that you're probably going to shuffle these up and deal 1 to each of the players. And this is who they're going to have to start off with. And you may have more saints come into play. And then we've got these holy relics. Gift of the Blarney. All right. Mission to Great Britain. Well, I guess maybe they're not relics. I guess maybe they're just kind of special. All right. Cool. So we've got the event deck, the saints. Here we go. Here's the player actions. They're on the other side of the influence. So you've got draw and resolve an event card, take actions. So you can prepare, you can attempt to convert, you can move, you can build a new church, you can improve a church, you can give or take a card with another player who's in that area, you can make a relic. I think you need to have a saint's grave, it looks like. And then final effort, only if at the last zeal box. I don't know what that would be. And then pass the turn marker, which I guess is probably you would give it to the next player around the table. Nice. William points out, hey, Jeff, your channel's always turning me on to some cool stuff. Yeah, I like to share all different kinds of stuff. I think most people know that I enjoy conflict simulations, although I don't really have an opportunity to play hex and counter war games much because my gang just really isn't into them. Every once in a while, I can get my best friend Elliot Miller to play a hex and counter war game, but it's got to offer something different. It can't just be, the typical old kind of like SPI stuff. So we've got all our tokens, we've got our die, we've got our decks of cards, we've got the cool mounted game board, got a couple of sticker sheets for those tiles in there. For the rule book, we've got the playbook, and I think that is everything. I said tiles. Stickers are for the blocks. So that is what we find when we take everything outside the box of Banish the Snakes from GMT Games. Once again, this is available right now. It is for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around 90 to 120 minutes. It does carry an MSRP of $59. And of course, as I mentioned, with just about any GMT Games release that we take a peek at, if you have any interest in picking this game up, do it now. Don't wait around, because GMT Games does not put out huge print runs of games. And you don't want to be sitting there out of luck because it's sold out and your friendly local game store doesn't have it. And now you're going to be forced to turn to the secondary market or wait maybe a couple of years or more before a new print run comes out. So this looks really interesting. I'm going to be diving on into this very soon, and hopefully I will have a review of Banish the Snakes in the not too distant future. All right. So that is it for this time out. Of course, next week I will be back. I'm not sure what we're going to take a look at yet, because some stuff did arrive today. There's other stuff that's supposed to be in transit. So I don't want to lock myself into anything just yet. I will tell you, we're probably going to look at a Harn Kingdom book from Columbia Games next week. That is probably on the agenda. So, but there are some other things that, like I said, I'm not positive what's showing up just yet. So just sharing that, just floating that out there for you. But of course, we'll have fun. You know how it works. You know how it works. We're always having a good time no matter what we're taking a peek at. Anyway, also, I'll have some other new videos up throughout the rest of this week into the weekend. So stay tuned for that as well. There should be, I'm working on a bunch of stuff. So we'll see how much of it I get done. Fingers crossed, get quite a bit of it wrapped up. Alrighty then. So if you were watching live, thank you very kindly. Always appreciate it. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. And if you have an opportunity, please leave a comment, even if it's just a sentence or two. Throw a comment out there, because I know a lot of you out there are always talking about, hey, Jeff, how can we help grow the channel? And we have passed 10,000 subscribers. Woot! But one of the great ways that YouTube looks at engagement is if you provide a thumbs up to the video and when people comment on videos. So if you have an opportunity, please do. Like I always say, you don't have to write a novella. But also want to mention, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Of course, if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because that will not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also inform you when I upload other original videos, such as my upcoming first look at Big Icon from Free League Publishing. Yes, and this is just a itty bitty box with, I think, 4 little booklets in it. So this is one of the videos that is coming later on this week. All right. So enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, if you were watching live, thank you very much. And of course, if you were watching live and took part in chat, a bigger tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as I blather on throughout the show. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will be back on Monday. And until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.